All right, and people are still trickling in. That's okay. And I'm Brian Nestande, representing the 64th District in the State Assembly, and appreciate all of you taking the time to come here this afternoon. And this is Dana Hobart, your mayor of the fine city of Rancho Mirage. And I'm sure a lot of Rancho Mirage folks, but there's probably people from other cities as well. And what we want to do is just take this opportunity to have an open discussion, a forum. And it's great for myself, and I'm sure Dana feels the same way, just to get feedback from folks. That's the most important thing I think we can do as elected officials, is hear directly from constituents, respond to questions, listen to suggestions, and that's why it's a great value that you're here today joining us to do that. And I'm going to take a few words, or an interaction between all of us, so let me turn it over to Dana, and then we'll go from there. And thank you, Dana, for... And also thank the City of Rancho Mirage, and the library for hosting us. And thank you, Dana, for putting that together.
Man, thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you for your enlightening comments about what's going on the state level. First, there's a moment of truth that we have to get through before we continue, is Brian wanted me not to wear a tie, so he would look more mature. I liked the idea of not wearing a tie because it made me look younger. I should state that more assertively. It made me look really young.
I'm trading youth for inexperience here.
He thought he was unique because he tints his hair a little bit. I told him I do too. And I do it so that I create that mature look. So between us two mature guys, first thing I'd like to do is introduce you to my wife, Vicki, who is sitting in the front row. It's the only time that I'll have a chance to talk without being interrupted by her, to finish my sentences, that sort of thing. Next to her is Lucy Mepos, Ron Mepos's wife, and we all miss Ron immensely. And next to her is Gordon Moeller, our city councilman, and a very important member of the Rancho Mirage City Council. Well, if we're going to be talking about important things, I got to tell you that Brian is right on the mark, because in Rancho Mirage, the issues are roughly the same. Problems, problems, and problems, and no real method of solving these problems. For example, the state, as you know, was unable to balance the budget without finding a new source of money. In the state's wisdom, they found that new source of money from the cities in the form of RDA, Redevelopment Agency funds. And I'm not saying there isn't an argument for it, but I don't think it's a compelling argument. It's decimating many cities, and in Rancho Mirage, we are going to be able to keep our RDA open for maybe another 2 or 3 years if this year we pay the state $9.8 million. Next year, if we pay the state roughly $3 million, and the year after that, we pay the state $3 more million. That will leave us with virtually nothing at the end of that period, considering some of the things that are in progress that we're going to have to complete. So it's a very big problem for us, meeting our budgetary requirements and keeping things smooth and keeping the quality of life in Rancho Mirage what it is, making it the unique little desert oasis that most people are very envious about. And we're just dealing with problems on keeping everything going, and we're juggling balls here and there. Let me tell you where part of the problem, a major part of the problem, began back in about 4 or 5 years ago. A company by the name of GenCom purchased property that was then called The Lodge. And I'm sure you all remember The Lodge being up on the hill where even before that was the original Ritz-Carlton. When the Lodge ceased doing business about 5 years ago, maybe 4.5, Rancho Mirage was receiving in bed taxes $1.6 million. So if you multiply that by 5 years, you can see that we've got about $8 million that we have simply lost from our principal source of income. Our main sources of income in Rancho Mirage are sales tax and bed tax. First, bed tax. That is by far the most important source of income to our city. Remember that when one of you comes pounding in on my office, I pay my taxes, Hobart, and darn it, I expect you to do this. As one person once called me late at night, get over to my house and get that cat out of my garage. I pay my taxes and I know I'm entitled to.
So you did it, right?
I had several reasons why I couldn't. As a matter of fact, as an aside, I told the lady, I said, ma'am, just you go to sleep, but just before you do, leave the garage door open about 6-8 inches. I guarantee the cat will be gone in the morning. This is after we exhausted. You can't call the animal shelters. The police won't come. The fire department won't come. All of that. And she said, but I can't leave it open. Why is that, ma'am? Well, because I would feel unsafe. I said, well, in that case, close the door to the kitchen, close the garage door, and then in the morning, open it up. No, I can't do that either because then the cat will be in my house, so to speak, all day, all night long, and I don't want a cat. And so this is the kind of stuff that you don't get, Brian. But we at the city level do, and I won't tell you how I responded. I'll leave that to my wife. Huh? Oh, okay, she says, I should tell you. I said, ma'am, I've got a great idea. There's one member of our city council who is devoted to public service. And I do not think there's any problem too large or too small for him to solve. Consequently, have you got a pencil? Yes. Okay, I want you to write this number down, 321-1498. She says, okay, who is that? I said, that's Councilman Alan Seaman. And so hung up the phone. She called Alan. Alan went through the same litany that I did. And then when Alan finally says, okay, ma'am, I'll come over to your house, she said, oh, well, never mind. I'll find a way to deal with it. I don't want to drag you out of your bed at this late hour. And then the next day after that, Alan came to City Hall and he brought a can of cat food and a little cat, stuffed cat that he gave me that I still cherish and remember to this day. So anyway, back to the loss of all this money from the failure of one hotel to stay in business. And that alone has impacted us. But beside that loss, we have also suffered significantly in the loss of bed tax. It's way down. This past year, it started to curve back up a little bit. We're way down in sales tax revenue. It's also this past year come back a little bit. We just hope that this trend is something that we can count on. It's extremely important. But like I said, we don't get property taxes, so keep that in mind. So when you go out to dinner at night, remember we get 1 cent out of every dollar when you eat at a local restaurant. And those are the taxes that you do pay and that you have a right to expect something from us. The other issue that's most contemporary is what is the status of the Ritz Hotel? Because we have been dealing with this company, GenCom, now for 5 years, and they've been telling us that they were going to finish this hotel. Well, what happened was they were financed by Lehman Brothers. Of all of financiers that you're going to have, what bad luck can you have? You could have any of the other ones and you would have survived in a much better manner. But when Lehman Brothers collapsed in the 2008 general economic collapse of the nation, they went out of business. And at that point in time, the Ritz was about 3 or 4 months from completion. They had invested into it over $200 million. And it just stopped dead. Since that point in time, GenCom has been doing what it can to find partners and other money from lending institutions. They're even in the process at the moment of dealing in China with a program that some brilliant person, and I have no idea who it was, some brilliant person designed. It's called EB5. I don't know what EB stands for, and I don't know what the 5 stands for. But what it is, it's a program where foreign nationals, if they put up $500,000 in cash into a shovels-ready project, they get a green card. So by making that loan, and it's a 5-year loan, by making that loan, they have basically full access to the entitlements that most Americans have. And a lot of foreigners are interested in raising their family here. They're interested in having their children go to colleges in the United States. And so they somebody came up with that great idea to start that project. So what people do, like GenCom, they're trying to get their agent in China and in South Korea to bundle some of these $500,000 packages. And if they can get another $30 million or so from them or from any other lending source, the program goes into effect to complete the project at the Ritz. They tell us that they are very determined, quite confident that they will reopen the Ritz around December of 2012. And do you say 012? I don't think you do. I think there's an O before it, 20, you know, the 012. So I was just wanting to see if you'd catch me. Fooled them again. As young whippersnappers, they think they know it all. At any rate, we have our high hopes that that's going to happen. The city is not in a position where it can change the roll of the dice on this. They own the land. They could keep it vacant for 20 years if they chose to, or they could sell it to somebody else, and then somebody else came in and tried to put in a hotel there. It would be well beyond December of next year before it got opened. One other last item here before we open it up for questions, and there's a lot of things that I'm sure that Brian wanted to mention as well as I would, and that is less than a year ago or so, the city of Rancho Mirage was facing the marijuana dispensary issue, and there was a lot of pressure from a lot of sources, pro, con, middle, health, aged people who are using marijuana for medical benefit reasons, and young people who could get a doctor's note, not a prescription, but a note that says severe headaches, frequent headaches. Okay, so sign here, and then he can go to the dispensary. And so there's a lot of controversy over the genuine use of it for medical purposes, and then the not so genuine use, but recreational purposes. And see you, John. We appreciate your being here, and
thank you, John.
See you soon. At any rate, we passed an ordinance that prohibited the dispensaries from being in the city, but consistent with the compassionate aspect of it, there are a lot of people. You probably all know somebody. I can tell you some names that you know very well. People, elderly people who have one condition or another, who do use marijuana as a palliative to reduce pain and anxiety, mostly pain, and increase appetite. In a lot of people in their older years, appetite becomes a part of the medical issue, and marijuana enhances appetite, especially chocolate cake. Well, wait a second. I read that recently in a book. I was 12 miles offshore when it happened, so believe me, I didn't break any laws. Anyway, so we passed the law that banned the dispensaries, but also permitted delivery into the city from the marijuana outlets that existed, and we made it easy for them to come here. We told them that they would make free delivery to bona fide residents who qualified, that we would give you a free business license instead of charging them for a business license to do business in the city of Rancho Mirage. And we also said for those people who are truly qualified that we would pay up to $25 a month for transportation costs in the event you can't get free transportation. So, it hasn't cost us anything yet, but it's available. And so that was our attempt to kind of balance the equities in this situation and not take a rigid view, but rather trying to deal with it realistically from what we know we want in our community and what we don't want in our community, and what we do want for people who have a legitimate and genuine use. So just a week ago or so, the Superior Court in Indio ruled that our law was in violation of the state law that was passed on an initiative basis back in early 2000s, the Compassionate Marijuana Use Act that was passed by the state of California. And they said we violated it. Well, I can tell you as a lawyer and as somebody who knows that law pretty well now, the judge made a mistake, big mistake. I could cite at least 2 California appellate court decisions that say what we did is absolutely appropriate, but if the judge chooses to ignore them or doesn't read the briefs or whatever, you're stuck with what you're stuck with. So we're now in the process of trying to get a writ issued stopping that, but if writs are kind of difficult to get out of the appellate divisions, and we may have to go to trial, but eventually I can tell you and mark my words, we will win that litigation, and we will move forward with that plan unless something new with the involvement of the federal government becomes important. Anyway, that's kind of an update on some of the issues here, and we're available for questions, and hopefully you'll